by bringing to justice Israeli war criminals who are currently responsible for the disproportionate military rampage.
However, the Israeli occupying government continues its flagrant violations of human rights of the Palestinian people.
But Israel has deprived them of their right to self-determination.
That the 60th anniversary of the International Human Rights Declaration coincides with the 60th anniversary on the occupation of Palestine, which was...
A representative of UN Watch.
Thank you, Mr. President. The United Nations was founded on the dream of peace and human rights for all. Can this Council take steps to help bring this dream to all peoples in the Middle East? I believe we can. Let us consider the Council's current mandate on the Palestinian territories. It is the only standing investigation that expressly ignores the violations of one side, thereby granting them impunity. A proposal was made from the podium this morning to remedy this bias. If we believe that under the Universal Declaration human rights are indivisible, that all human beings are created equal in the eyes of God, should not this proposal be immediately and enthusiastically endorsed? We call on all member states to support turning this mandate into one that respects the human rights of all by scrutinizing Palestinian violations as well, be it terrorist attacks or human rights violations against fellow Palestinians. Mr. President, there is a dire protection gap. A one-sided mandate created in February 1993, before the PLO and the Hamas took direct control over territory and the lives of millions of Palestinians, must now be updated. If I understand correctly, however, many in this chamber, including the distinguished representatives of Algeria, Egypt, Cuba, and Palestine, do not accept this proposal. They have argued inter alia that there is no symmetry between the two sides. Even if that were true, however, on what basis in international human rights and humanitarian law does...
There is a point of order raised by the delegation of Egypt. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. President, first, this speaker has spoken in the interactive dialogue. Why is he giving the floor again? And secondly, is he commenting on the item or on the statements made by states on the item? I think the discussion here is on the item which is OPT, not the statement of Egypt, not the statement of Algeria. So whenever we raise a procedural point, we're accused of being against the civil society or trying to waste their time. Then be it. If they do not respect their time, we don't have to respect it. Thank you.
Thank you. As for the first question, I would recall that we are now in a general debate under item 7. In the morning, we had an interactive dialogue with the Special Rapporteur under item 7. Having said that, I think that we have two separate moments when the floor may be asked and can be given. As for the second question, I will say this only once. Please refer in your statements at the topic at hand. We go back to the speaker. You have the floor, sir.
An argument is made that there is no symmetry between the two sides. Even if that were true, however, on what basis in international human rights and humanitarian law does asymmetry...
Please, sir. Yes.
You said that you will say it once, that everybody should stick their statements to the item. But now the speaker is just continuing his statement as if nothing happened.
Excuse me, I have a small problem here. I can't read the statement beforehand. So let us listen to the statement and then we will react. Please continue, sir.
On what basis in international human rights and humanitarian law does asymmetry become a license to kill? When a Qassam rocket kills, wounds, or terrorizes an innocent child in Sderot or Ashkelon, on what basis in international law or morality should the perpetrators of these crimes enjoy impunity? Where in international law is it written that the murder of innocent civilians can be excused by a defense of purported asymmetry. Since 2001, Palestinians have fired 3,484 Qassam rocket attacks against Israeli civilians. These attacks, under international human rights law, cannot be granted impunity. Now, it has been argued today that the root cause of the conflict is Israel's presence in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. But how can that be the root cause when many of the countries making this argument refused to recognize Israel's right to exist long before 1967? How can Palestinian terrorist attacks be a consequence of 1967 when they started long before, with Yasser Arafat creating the PLO in 1964? Mr. President, the root cause of the conflict is the refusal by certain states and non-state actors to recognize Israel's right to exist. The President of Iran has just once again called for Israel's destruction. His government supports terrorist groups with the same genocidal ideology across the region, be it Hamas or Hezbollah. It is this hatred that is the root cause of the Arab-Israeli conflict, and only when it is healed will we see true peace and human rights. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.